What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about 3 ways I believe Ethan could return in Resident Evil 9. So we've talked a lot about Ethan in the past several videos over the past couple days. In the ending, the character model, even the ending. I made a video about that 2 days ago. So if you guys have missed any of that stuff, make sure you go to the channel to check that out. I'll leave some of them at the end of this video, and make sure as well, if you guys are new here, if you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed. Bell icon turn on. Give this video a like. If you do end up liking it, I would greatly appreciate it. We're pushing for 50K subscribers and doing really, really good. I think we can get there very, very quickly. So, we've talked about potentially, and I guess this is going to go into spoilers. I'm not going to hold it in any longer, so this is going to talk about spoilers. Ethan could very well be at the ending of this game, even though he dies, the character model thing. Now, I know there's very conflicting thoughts. Some people said, like, well, why would they put his character model in there if that wasn't actually him, right, in that secret ending? And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, definitely go watch the a couple of videos ago I talked about it. Basically, when the car that Rose is in is driving away, and there's a mystery figure at the end of the road, somebody did some detective work. They put on their Sherlock Holmes outfit, and they went in there, and they found out that that actually is the character model of Ethan. It doesn't have to mean it is Ethan. It could lean that way if you think about it, but it could just be Capcom reusing assets. Okay, those are really the two ways of thinking about it, right? If it is or if it isn't, I want to talk about 3 different ways, okay? Number 1 is him coming back to life, okay? Now, this is the way that if that was him at the ending of the game, it's already been set in motion, right? It's already happening, and, it's not going to be too shocking if he's alive in 9. Now, in terms of how that would happen, there is a couple ways with that, right? Mother Miranda did say, as she pulled out, like, his heart or whatever organ that was in his body, that she's basically going to document him. And what we kind of found out throughout the game is that she basically keeps, like, blood samples of people. Even with, like, Lady Dimitrescu, she actually was somebody who, like, needed blood. Like, she had, like, a blood disorder, and that's why she became what she is, because, Mother Miranda gave her blood. So, basically she categorizes, or she keeps your blood samples in record. And now, did she have enough time to do that between when Ethan died and then came back to life to fight her? Doesn't look like it, because in reality, she had his heart or whatever organ. She put the blood on her face. Chris's men were watching her. She never moved from the ritual site, and then Ethan finds her. So did she have time to, like, put into a flask and, like, put in her lab and stuff like that? No, not necessarily. You know what I mean? So at the same time, we know Ethan basically is fully made up of the mold. His ability is to come back to life, so his body is pretty much mold, right? So when that is destroyed, when Mother Miranda is killed, he's dead. And we've also talked about a couple times at this point that Duke basically tells him, like, you're not gonna be I guess the summary is he's not gonna be able to come back to life over and over and over again. Like, if you die again, and maybe you don't even have to die by being, like, shot at or blown up, like, you will eventually die, right? And when you do, it's going to be over. Okay, so that was kind of already said, but look, it's Resident Evil. There's ways of them not bringing back Mother Miranda, but some other way of the mold. We see that agent that Chris's men had in the plane, where that was like a bioweapon, right? So there could be something where maybe some sort of a like sample of the mold was taken by somebody. I mean, there's hoops you have to jump through, but basically the gist is, if Ethan comes back to life, either they better explain it very, very well, because why did he wait until Rose was like a teenager to come back? That's many, many years. That's way too many years, honestly, to stay dead and then just randomly come back. Unless he was, like, always there. Unless he came back, like, the next day and just nobody knew about that except for Rose, right? But beyond that, the only other way to do it would be to have somebody maybe make a breakthrough in like a mold discovery. Okay, they win like an award for it, and that's how they could bring him back. Okay, so that's one way. Second way of him returning is through flashbacks. Funny stories. I already made this video before the character model thing happened, so I had like a version of this video, and I'm redoing it. So I'm trying to, because I said some cool things I think that, like, were good points in the original video, but you guys aren't going to see that video, and yada yada, yada, yada. But I did say this in that video that you guys will never see as well, release the Alex cut, right? In that there could be some sort of flashback sequences. If you're going to play as Rose, which seems very, very likely that she'd be the main character of 9. She doesn't have to be, but it seems pretty darn likely. There could very well be sequences where she's told about Ethan or something along those lines, or maybe Mia is reminiscing about him, or Chris is, because like Chris is still around, we know that. Mia would ideally, hopefully still be around, right? So there's people that can connect back to Ethan. I wouldn't be shocked, especially considering, well, number one, 7, 8, 9, it's a trilogy, right? So they all connect. And then even in 8, you do see some scenes of 7 again. You know what I mean? So they do play with things where, like, yeah, it happened in the past game, but that doesn't mean you can't bring it back. I would not discount the idea of them either re-showing scenes in 8, maybe from a slightly different perspective to explain something, or just something entirely new. Maybe Mia thinks back to like a dinner that they had before Mother Miranda took her place, where she's talking to Ethan. Something like that. The third way, and maybe the most interesting, is she would see him through him talking to her in some sort of middle life, like what he did with Evelyn basically at the end of Village, okay? So he's dead, he's kind of in limbo or whatever you want to call it, and he sees Evelyn. Now, like, that could have just been in his own mind, like he's talking to himself. Like, there's different ways movies and games and shows could explain something like that, right? But if that's, say, like the world in between, okay, and like Evelyn was there, Ethan was there, it's possible that when Ethan dies at the end of 8, he's in that middle thing. And we know that Rose is a lot like Mia, but she's also a lot like Ethan. And how is she a lot like Ethan? Well, when the guy told her that, it's very possible he meant, in terms of like strength or like willpower, right? Or like just the idea of being good. But it's also very possible he meant it like, if you were to die, you'd maybe come back. Considering Ethan had the mold and had the ability the entire time, including when Mia got pregnant and had Rose, right? So Rose definitely has, there's no doubt about it, Rose definitely has Ethan's power. So is it possible that one of two things could happen because of that? Number one, is it possible that when she dies, number one, I guess she can come back, but when she's dead, she could also talk to Ethan. And number two, maybe her powers are so special that she's able to communicate almost with the dead in a way, and that could be, bringing back Ethan. So I honestly think there are plenty, even in the 3 ways I broke down, I think there's kind of like a subsection of each, where you can kind of do 1 or 2 other things. So really, there are plenty of ways of bringing him back. Final thing I want to say, I do believe he'll return. Not just do I think that these are ways they could bring him back, but I do think he will come back. I don't know if they ever said that this was Ethan's trilogy. All that we've heard is that this is a trilogy and the story of 7, 8, 9 all connect with each other, right? It's one big thing. That's what we've heard. I don't think they've ever said that it was like Ethan's story, right? At the end, you do see, the father's story is done, right? So they make it very apparent that you're going to move on and you're going to probably play as Rose in the next game. But I do not think that means that Ethan's gone. I mean, honestly at all, yeah, bringing him back actually may hurt his character because he had a nice little arc there in 7 and 8, and he came back to life to save his daughter and put everything, like he knew he was going to die, but he had to do it to save Rose and leave. And I actually think the ending with him saying goodbye to her and like kind of crying, like goodbye Rosemary, I actually thought that was really beautiful, considering you still never see Ethan's face, and so it's hard to connect to a character that you can't see their expressions, right? I actually think they nailed it. So bringing him back, I do think maybe would hurt some things, but at the same time, I think it's something they could easily do, and I think there are ways of doing it where you wouldn't hurt his character. And final thing is, speaking of his face, you still don't see his face, and in my opinion, there has to be a reason for that. There really does. It could have been just like some sort of joke that they thought of, and they're like, yeah, we're doing first person in 7, and they're like, oh, so we're never going to see his face, and they're like, yeah, you know what, that's kind of interesting. And then 8, they're like, you still don't, but then we're going to show him a couple times in 8, and you're not going to see his face even when we show him. He's going to have his head down where his hair and his, just the way he's looking, it's covering his face. So, in my opinion, there's got to be a reason why they do that, and I think that's going to be answered in 9. I really, really do. We can maybe talk about that in a completely different video, but let me know, guys, in the comments below. What do you think? As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Give this video a like if you guys did like it. I just actually did a review of this game earlier today. We've had loads of Resident Evil videos, and I have a few more I want to talk about throughout the rest of this week, okay? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.